Good morning. My name is Karen Kong and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada. And welcome to, well, what is normally my This or That Thursday, but I only have one card this week. So normally I have two cards posted in my Facebook group for my crafting community to pick a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings, but I'm still coming up for air from dance competitions. We had back-to-back weekends of dance competitions and one of them was away, so it was a super late night, Sunday night when we got back from the last dance competition, and I didn't think I got to bed until 1:30 in the morning. So now it's a catch-up game with stuff around the house and things that need to be cleaned up. I'm thankful you can't see what's behind me because it's a big mess. So thank you for joining me. If you're joining me live, I would love it if you say hi and tell me where you're watching from. And it's always nice to have company when I'm crafting because I like having people ask me questions and, you know, join in the chatting. It's more fun to create together and not by myself. I'm not so great at talking to myself, so it's definitely more fun when I have somebody to talk with. Anyway, so this is the card that I made today, yesterday. It's a triple point card. So I had actually never run into this fold before. I saw it posted on Facebook just last week, so I decided to take a look at it and try it out for myself. So I used the Wildflower birthday specialty DSP, and that is the card we're making today. So if you just want to take a look, it opens like this. I think it's really cool. Good morning, Sandra. So as I usually like to do, well, not usually, sometimes, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. I'm going to add an extra matting layer just to change it up, and I'm going to change the color. And we'll see how that turns out, okay? This is reality crafting, so if it doesn't work out, if it looks terrible, that's reality. Sometimes you make cards and you're not happy with them. So let me just get my computer set up so that I can see your comments while we are crafting. I'm just going to get the video running here. Yeah, I know, it's a little risky, eh? Going and switching things up live, but what the heck, I thought it would look better. I saw different variations of this card, and I thought that this other variation would look good. So anyways, it's not a huge change. Let's hope that nothing goes wrong, but we'll go with it. Okay, I think I'm ready to switch over to my desktop, so close your eyes. I'm going to take my camera and mount it over my desk. Just give me a second. Here we go. All right. So I usually show you kind of what I have going with the colors and stamp sets that I'm using on my desktop before we get started. But if you're watching for the first time and catching this on replay, don't worry about writing everything down. I always put everything in my video description afterwards, measurements and everything. So just sit back, enjoy, and then use the replay to create your own card. So I did pre-cut a few things just to make things faster because we do have a lot of cutting to do today. So this card, I'll just show you again. It's like this. So it's got like a lot of triangles. So the front is a V shape, and I've attached two triangle cutoffs to that. But I think it's really cool. I think it looks really, really pretty. It has a lot of layers, and the layers really do add a lot to the card. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I wanted the sentiment kind of on the circle part. And, you know, once you've figured out how to do the triple point card, it's really just a matter of adding whatever you want to the middle or putting on your sentiment, however you want to do it. Okay, so I use the retired layering circles for my centerpiece here, but you can use whatever you like. I've seen other shapes used as well as die cuts being used. So again, once the triple point card, the actual basic layout is done, you can do whatever you like. So I'm using the retired layering circles. I'm using the Wildflower birthday DSP today. And I pulled out some retired stamp sets. So this sentiment here, just so you know, is from the Sweet Songbirds. And I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to use the Happiness Abounds sentiment, the best wishes, instead for this card. And okay, so the change I'm making for this card is that, oh yeah, Sandra, now that you have an envelope maker, you can make 6x6. Like I said, I don't know if you caught this in an earlier live, but I do have a whole bunch of 6x6 and 5.5 by 5.5 envelopes left over from when I used to make wedding invitations, and they've been sitting in my closet for, I don't know, 20 years. It's crazy. So I made kind of a mental commitment to try and make square cards so I can use those envelopes. So that's why this triple point card was like a great discovery. So I could make a square card. So I did adjust like the sizing. Like I had to figure out my own sizing because I wanted to make it to fit my envelope. So I made a 5x5 card. Simply because it will fit the 5.5 by 5.5 envelope, and you can use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper instead of requiring a 12 by 12, because the examples I was seeing, they were 6x6 cards. Okay, so this is a 5x5 card, and all my measurements will be for this size. Let me just move things out of the way so we can get started. Okay, so I've pre-cut the pieces of paper that I need for this card. Okay, so I've got a square card base. So this is 5 by 10, scored at 5 inches on the long side. I've got wild wheat, 2 pieces in 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, 2 pieces of DSP in 4.5 by 4.5 inch size, and I've got 1 piece of white in 4.5 by 4.5 as well. So I know I have to cut, let me just take out the pieces that I actually need to cut because I don't want to accidentally cut something I don't need to cut. Okay, so I'm going to set aside the card base, and actually I do need to cut the card base. Okay, card base I need to cut. I need 1 piece of wild wheat cut, and the DSP needs to be cut as well, and these pieces we will leave whole. Okay, so let's put these ones aside. And I'm going to move these two. All right, so let's start with the card base. We're basically cutting a whole bunch of triangles, and all we're going to do is, for every single piece of paper, I'm going to measure halfway along the width and mark it, and we're going to cut 2 triangles off. Okay, so that's what we're doing for every single one of them. Good morning, Tara. Nice to have you here. Okay, so this is a 5x5 card. Well, 5 by 10, but I'm going to cut it halfway here along the width is 2.5. So I'm just going to take a pencil and lightly mark the 2.5 inch spot. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing for the DSPs as well. So I want my DSP to sit this way. Doesn't matter for the floral, but the one with the gold foil, I want it to sit horizontally. So so these ones are 4.5 inches wide. So I'm gonna mark it at 2.25. Okay, and I'll mark this one also at 2.25. Okay, and my wild wheat is 4 3/4, which means I need to mark it at, oh, why did I leave this mental math for this morning? That is 2 3/8. 2 3/8 right there. But like I said, I will put all the measurements in my video description, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to put this off to the side and bring in my paper trimmer. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark, sorry, I already marked the middle point, so I'm going to line it up with this corner. So like I said, we're going to cut 2 triangles like this. Okay, so I'm going to mark, line up in the groove this corner, and also the pencil mark that I made halfway along the bottom. Okay. There's one. And then I'm going to turn it, rotate it, and I'm going to mark, sorry, I don't know why I want to keep saying mark. I want to line up the corner and this middle point again. All right, so that's one. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So lining up the top right corner with the middle bottom in the cutting groove. And you know, I thought this card would be complicated, but it really isn't. It's actually quite easy. It's just a matter of, you know, having your pieces cut properly and then assembling. Okay, again, so I have my middle point and the corner. Whoops, I'm not quite lined up there. Middle point and left corner. So in Ottawa, all the trees and the flowers are blooming, which means it is full-on allergy season for me. My allergies are going crazy, and it has been a lot of sneezing for me. And this year, I don't normally get itchy eyes, but this year I have got itchy eyes too. Sometimes an itchy throat. It's like, yeah, really fun. So I have taken to wearing a mask again, just to try and not breathe in so much pollen when I'm outside. Okay, so here with the card base, I'm lining up where the score mark is. Okay, so I'm lining up the top right score, the end of the top right. Am I saying this right? It's the right side of the score. I think you know what I'm talking about, even though I don't think I'm making any sense. And the middle of the front. Okay, so that where I made my pencil mark. Okay, and again, we're just going to rotate this so that I have the left side of the score mark and the middle of the front of the card. There we go. All right. So now that all my pieces are cut, let's assemble. Okay. So I'm going to just fold this and burnish. Yeah, this is just a really neat card. I think it's like, has a really nice impact, right? It's like completely different from your normal card. Okay, so I'm going to bring these back in, the uncut pieces. Okay, so these will get mounted inside here. So I'm just kind of laying it out so I remember where everything goes. Okay, so now we've got these two triangle pieces. We're going to take the wild wheat matting and add it on top. Okay, and these will go on top of the wild wheat. You have an extra piece of this left over, which you can use afterwards to make a second card. Okay, so all you're going to need to do is slice it down the middle, and then you can turn it over. Sorry, it was supposed to be this way. That's the way I can't remember now. Anyways, you can cut this slightly. You can just cut this halfway down at the 2.5 inch mark again. Is it 2.5? I forget. I don't want to lie to you. 2.25. At the halfway point at 2.25, and you'll have 2 more pieces to use for another card. Okay, so keep that piece. And then the 2 pieces here will go on here, and this will go on top of the triangle piece of wild wheat. and it will go on top here. Okay, so now it's just mostly assembly. Okay, so let's put this together. I'm gonna get my silicone mat out. Oh wow, Tara, you have itchy ears too. Brutal. You can't even scratch those. Yeah, I do have one that works for me. It's just that it's a 12-hour medication, and overnight it runs out, of course, and morning time I have to suffer through until the allergy meds kick in, and sometimes it's just not strong enough. Like I'm still sniffling and blowing my nose a bit, but not as bad as, you know, when I'm not medicated. So, okay. So now we're just layering these up, okay? But for sure, I am going through a lot of Kleenex these days. And trying not to rub my eyes, because the skin, I don't know, I have developed like very sensitive skin on my eyes in the last 5 years, and I can't wear makeup on it anymore, except for special occasions, but not on a daily basis, because I develop eczema if I try to wear makeup on my eyes. And so when I have itchy eyes and I'm rubbing, the skin actually, it's like little micro tears develop because it's so sensitive, and it stings when I sweat or my eyes tear up. Yeah, so not fun. Okay, so there's the layering done for one. Just gonna keep on going here. So I was on Reactin for most of the year, and then when things got worse and it seemed like it would stop working, I switched over to my other trusty brand, which they actually don't even make anymore. It's a different version of Allegra, and they stopped making it, but I have like 2 boxes left. So hopefully, I don't know, I'll have to figure out a new solution once I run out of those. So like I said, the second part of this is really just putting all the layers together and assembly. Once you've cut all your pieces, and the cutting was actually not so bad. The assembly is actually quite simple. Okay, so there's that, and then I'm going to put these two together. I've never tried Arius. I might have to try that one sometime. Okay. So I'm going to probably make some more of these, and I'll switch up the DSP patterns that I used, because this was so easy to make, really. Once you've figured out, what colors you want to make your cardstock matting, and which DSPs you want to use together, then it's fairly simple. Okay, so let me see. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble this bit first. Okay, so my wild wheat is just going to go straight on as a matting layer. I wanted the wild wheat because, as many of you may have remembered from past lives, that I think wild wheat kind of looks like gold. It's kind of a nice substitute as gold. And I wish I had gotten more before they discontinued it, but it ran out of inventory before I could. So I have just the one package that I own left. Okay, so in this card, I didn't have an extra layer underneath the DSP. I just had the white, and that white is the equivalent of this gold. Okay, so I found that that in the other card examples that I saw, that this was framed nicer when you added the extra matting. So I actually decided this time I was going to use the extra matting. So that's what I'm going to do now. We'll add that in. Just looking at your comments, Tara. Yeah, I was buying like the Kirkland brand of Reactin, and it was really cost effective. But I switched, like I said, my allergy symptoms were getting worse, so I switched over to Allegra, which is my usual go-to. But once I ran out of that, I'll have to be looking at something else. Okay, so if you see the wild wheat is in place of what was white in my original card, and then I add a smaller layer of white. So now when I glue this on, it kind of is nicely framed with the DSP. So let's do that. I haven't made a card in weeks, and it's just so nice to have some time to craft. Although at this point we are getting ready for recital, which is the next thing. Recital is coming up at the end of the month, and there are extra practices scheduled, and summer activities are starting. So my daughter plays Ultimate in the summer, and that's starting next week. So it's going to be a very, very full couple of weeks while these all her activities overlap. Dance is not finished until early July because we are attending nationals this year, and she has dance lessons and acro lessons. So it's very busy, and then end of year is coming, right? So end of school year, I mean. Okay, so I can see there's a tiny pencil mark there still from when I cut the DSP, so I can just erase that afterwards. There we go. So I think that frames it quite nicely, but you know, you can do it either way. I think it still looks good. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so now this piece will go on top here. Let's do that. Yes, the whole dance competition is very life-consuming. Okay, so this goes on top, and we've got 1/8 of an inch around, just like the other pieces. All right, so that's the main base completed. Now you're going to take these two pieces that sit like, that used to be like this, right? They used to be this way. So you're just going to take these and rotate it. So I've seen cards where they the rotation is different and the placement is slightly different. So you can do it any way you like, whatever appeals to you. I like to line up the bottom corner here with the bottom of the card, and then line up the top of my point with the top of the DSP. So that's how I decide where mine is going to go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've placed this, I'm actually just going to lift it up and I'm just going to open it, and I'm going to take a pencil and very lightly draw a line underneath on this piece. Okay, so it's going to be hidden, so you don't have to go back and erase it. Okay, it's just going to tell me where I can apply my glue to. Okay, so we're going to put a glue here up until the line. And that'll help you avoid having a situation where you have glue kind of seeping out. Okay, so now I have to do this again, so I'm going to line up my points again. So I like to do this on an angle, and then I won't touch my glue yet until I'm ready to place. Okay, so I'm just lining it up. And the last corner touches the edge of my card. Okay, there you go. All right, and so this piece, same thing, right? Oh, I can see there's a little bit of, there we go, paper that didn't get quite cut off. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to line this up, bottom corner at the bottom, and then the tip of this triangle up at the DSP top. And once I have that in place, I'm just going to gently lift it. Just take my pencil and very lightly draw a line underneath so it can't be seen after it's glued. Okay, so now that this piece is, you can see that it's kind of lifted up. Okay, so you've got like several layers of paper underneath there. So the only section that I mean, you can glue the whole thing. This is totally personal preference. I have seen other demonstrators glue the entire section underneath here so that it will bend over top of this extra 3 layers of paper. I have seen another demonstrator actually insert leftover pieces of paper underneath these sections here that are not supported, and just to lift it up and make it flatter. And what I've chosen to do is I'm going to use a glue dot to put it underneath here, because the glue dots are thicker and it'll give you a little bit extra height. So I will put glue dots here, and then use glue to just secure the center. You don't need a lot. So I'm going to flip this over this way, so if you kind of get an idea of where it's going to be. Okay, so let's take a glue dot. And I know that my tip is not going to be on top of this layer, so let's put the, just looking at where my glue dot is, up near the tip here. Okay, and I'm going to take another glue dot. I'm going to put it in the center here, right? Because this is going to be in this section. It's going to fall in that section there. Okay, and this one I'm just going to eyeball. I'm not going to actually measure out where the glue goes. I know that some of you are going, what? You're not going to measure this? But I am feeling like, you know, I don't really want to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to put, you don't need to put a ton of glue. So I'm just kind of placing this where I think it's going to go. That's looking good. Okay, so now I'm just going to, it hasn't stuck, right? I haven't put enough pressure to have the glue dot stick. So I'm just going to gently lift this up, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue underneath here. Okay, not a lot, just where I know that it's going to overlap. And then I'll lay it back down. There. And now I'll just press it into place. So now that is the basis for this 3-point card. And from here on, it's totally up to you how you can decorate the rest of the card, right? So I'm going to take 2 circles and we'll die cut those. But you can use, like, you know, a flower die cut. You could use ovals, whatever is in your stash and what works for you. Let me just bring over my cut and emboss machine. All right. So for my particular machine, it's tight. So what I like to do, what I find is that if I use the regular sandwich for my layering circles, I end up with a kind of like a dent in my paper of the edge of the circle. So to avoid that, I took out, which one is it? I took out panel number 2, and I will use the embossing plate on top to cut these instead of the regular sandwich. Okay, so this is the scalloped edge, which I thought complemented the scalloping in the DSP, and this is just a regular circle. Okay, so just a smaller one to fit inside. And I find that in my machine that this combination works, and it doesn't, I don't end up with a circle being pressed into the inner edge. Okay, so that's all we need the embossing machine, cut and emboss machine for. And now we're just going to add some stamping. So I'll admit that if you take a look closely at my card, you won't be able to tell them necessarily, but I have a piece of vellum laid on top here. That's because I wanted to kind of mute the stamping of the banners, even though I had stamped off once. So I'm going to stamp off twice this time and see how that works, okay? Because I want it to be a very light gold in the background. I don't want it to be very heavy. Oh, have you not tried that before, the scallop circles, Tara? Because I have, like, I'll show you what I did. See, this is the original piece I die cut before I remembered to change my sandwich. Oh, I'm having trouble getting the piece of paper out. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. It's got like a border pressed into the edge. I don't know if you can see that, but I don't always like this look, so that's why I changed the sandwich. Okay, so my wild wheat ink pad is very juicy, and if this has been a while since I've had to use this or use this trick, and I haven't, if you've never seen this before, is if your pad is really juicy, you'll find that the ink will make kind of like droplets. It'll form droplets on your stamp. So let me show you this. Where's my stamp? Okay, so here's the banner stamp, and I'm just going to pick it up with my block. Let me just put it this way. All right, so I'll show you what happens when it's a very wet ink pad. You'll notice, okay, so if you notice, there's like darker spots of ink, right? Because it's so wet, it makes kind of blobs on the stamp, okay? So when you stamp it, you get kind of, it's not even. It's not an even stamp, okay? So one way to get around that is to take a straight edge of anything. You can, I've seen people use their bone folder, but I don't want to stain my bone folder, so I have old credit cards here, and I'm just gonna brush the ink to one side. Okay, so I'm just brushing the ink to one side. I'm pressing very lightly on the surface so that I don't have so much excess ink there. Okay, so let me just clean this off. All right, so my excess ink is brushed over there, so I'm going to ink up over here. Can you see there's less of the, I don't know what you call that effect, when it's like the ink gathers in dots, okay? So I want to stamp off twice this time. Actually, I'm going to ink that up again, because I can see there's like gaps in the, okay, so let's stamp off twice. Once, twice, and then let's see how light it is when it's 3 times. Okay, so that's pretty light. I think I'm going to go with 2 times stamped off, okay, and before I stamp it onto my circle. Okay, let's turn this over so I can see it. Okay. So once, twice. Okay, and now I'm going to stamp here. Okay. All right, so we're going to do that a few times to create a few banners on our circle. So once, twice, oops. Oh, I pressed a little bit too hard there. Let's try that again. I don't like that. That is the beauty of using the other side. Reality stamping. Once, twice, and then I'm going to try not to press so hard this time. That's what happens when you press too hard. And I must have rolled it a little bit too, like wiggled it. That looks much better. Okay. Better, but and let's see. There. All right. So now I'm going to skip the vellum step because I don't, because this is light enough now, I don't need to mute that anymore. Let's just see, actually, I'm not happy with that little bit, but let's see if I can cover that up with, I do have one leftover circle. Of vellum. I think it's still gonna, you can still notice it. I think I'm just going to leave it without the vellum. So that's just personal choice. Okay. So I'm going to adhere this piece onto my scalloped wild wheat circle. Oops. Just looking for my tweezers. Okay. And now I'm just going to pull out some die cuts from the Wildflower DSP. We'll just put these in the middle, right? So I'm just going to use some glue. And center that. I want to make sure I have enough room for my flowers down here without them going off of the circle. just add a little flower down here. Okay, so let's stamp our sentiment too. Okay, I'll add that afterwards. And I'm just going to grab a piece of white scrap. All right. Looking for my sentiment. Okay, so we are using Best Wishes. And turn this over and pick it up with my... It's a little bit long. I'm going to pick it up this way. And we're going to stamp in... Yeah, the die cuts from the specialty paper, they're really handy. I still have yet to use the biggest ones. There's a huge bouquet, and there's also a set of balloons that I would like to use. So yeah, they're coming in handy. Like, I didn't have to do any die cutting. I mean, I only have to do die cutting for the circles for this card, but you know, the die cuts of the flowers are ready to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this right here. And we're just gonna cut this off. I just want a very thin sentiment. There's not a huge amount of room, but you know, this is the layout. Sorry, you can't see that. I'm just going to trim this down. And use my scissors. Okay, so final assembly. Alright, so this is going to go up here. Oh, that's a bit bigger than I thought. Maybe what I'll do is I will fussy cut that out, and then it'll hopefully fit better. But this is going to go right here. And I'm going to use my same trick. I'm going to put some glue dots here. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put glue dots here. And a little bit of glue in the center. Let me just double check that I'm not going to have that exposed. Yeah, that I can put this here. Oops, it's a little further out than I expected. Okay, there. And a little bit of glue in the center. And just figuring out where I want to put this. I think that looks good. All right, so this is a little bit long. Oh, I could actually slide it underneath a bit, but let me just trim it even shorter and see if that works. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. You use the bouquet of flowers also for the graduations. Okay, so that is just going to fit, I think, but the corners come up. So you know what? I think I may just fussy cut this and see how that works out. So yeah, I really want to use the balloons for something. I just haven't figured out. I need a card big enough to contain those balloons too, because they're quite large. having trouble getting around this curve. I have a lot of paper to hold on to. Yes, yeah, I found the same thing, Sarah, sorry. I was measuring, I was holding them up to this card, and since this is 5.5, it really didn't fit on, so I couldn't use them. Okay, almost done. Oh. Oh, I'm just trying to get around this corner on the tail of this. Okay, I'm just gonna round this off. There, all right, let's see how this fits now. Hi, Janice. Yeah, fussy cutting words is definitely more difficult, especially when they're smaller. It's not my favorite, but look, this fits better now. Wonder if I could even fit it here if I wanted to. But I think I'm just going to stick with the original layout and let's put it there. Okay. Let me get my silicone mat out. And we'll use a little bit of glue. I'm just going to put little tiny dots of glue so I don't get too much like squishing out. Okay, that looks good. And we'll place this on. Now I'm sure I could add some beads or, not beads, gems. Yeah, thanks, Tara. I think it looks better fussy cut. The rectangle was just taking up too much. There was too much white, and it was cutting in and overlapping the corners here. So I think that looks better. So that is the card. I could definitely add some gems, I think. Let's do that. Let's see. I do like the iridescent ones. Where did they go? Here we go. So these I find just match everything. I don't have to have a color specific gem. Let's get my take your pick tool. Maybe I can hide that little mistake here with the thing. Can put some here. Oops. How does that look? I haven't pressed it down, so I can still move it. I think I'll leave that. That's what I do sometimes, is that I will lightly lay it down with, oh, that little dot, adhesive dot came off the back. No? Yeah, this doesn't have any adhesive on it. Reality crafting. Where did it go? Okay, so this one, the adhesive dot is still stuck on the backing. So let's take this one instead. one there. And I guess that's okay. Oh, yeah, good idea, Tara. I will use that idea. Okay, so that is the card. I don't know if I really needed those gems. I think it's pretty striking card to begin with the 3-point layout. What do you think? I think the wild wheat kind of adds a little bit of extra oomph to the card, eh? I think I like that effect. So, you know, play around with your colors, and I like how it frames the inside better, right? So play around with your colors, have fun with this. You know, I hope this inspires you to try this out with whatever you have in your stash. I am definitely going to make a few more of these. So don't forget, you have one more piece of triangle left over from cutting these pieces, and they can be used on your other card. If you just cut it in half, you can use it for another card, and then you'll get the most use out of your DSP. So that is our card for this week. Thank you for joining me and your patience. I am not sure if I'm going to be back next week because my daughter has an ultimate tournament on the Thursday all day, so I may be there. Maybe I'll go live on Friday instead. We'll see. I have to get my act together and get some more crafting in and make some more cards for you and to share more crafting. So, but in the meantime, have a great week and try making this card and have fun with it. Bye, guys.